Previously on the Sports Report.
There's a point in time where tensions were high between the United States and North Korea. I have a buddy of mine who's my roommate who busts open the door and he gets on top of my bed, right at the edge of the bed, and he's holding over the phone and he's like, JR, look. And I'm still kind of trying to wake up, and then my eyes just like autofocus on this text message right here. I open the fridge, I have a duffel bag. I just reach my arm in there and swipe everything from the first 3 rows of the fridge. Ziploc the bag, and I'm out the door. I had a class, like a health class, that was in one of the only ballistic missile, in one of the only fallout shelters that the campus had available. We get there. I have my duffel bag on. Everyone's got their backpacks. We run up there, and we've got families putting kids inside of storm drains to try and protect them because they have no other place to put them. They're scared. Then I turn to my right, and I have a perfect shot between me and residential housing right between Campus Center. And I just see a sea of students, knees to chest, booking it with everything you could think of, TVs, pets, all their belongings that they deemed reasonable to bring. They're sprinting straight to me. And eventually we get a professor who's frantic with the keys. She's shaking. She finally puts it in and lets everyone in. It's just hundreds of students just start flooding into this auditorium. And then eventually we get the notification that they deemed it a false alert, a mistake on somebody's part. About 5-6 days later, the University of Hawaii had a 4-star general, commander of the Pacific Fleet, a guy who's really well decorated, come in, one of the most powerful person I've ever had a chance to meet, come in and talk to us. And he was like, listen, guys, number one thing here is don't worry. You need to understand that we have all the things that we need right here to defend something. If we are under attack, trust in your government. We are going to take care of you. We're going to do everything we can to protect this place and protect this island. And right now you're in safe hands. But if a situation like this ever happens and there's a ballistic missile inbound and for some reason we aren't able to shoot it down, I don't want you all to panic. I don't want you all to worry. I want you to call your loved ones, or I want you to grab your loved ones, and I want you to pray, because if a ballistic missile hits this island, you're all dead. All right, guys.
Whoa.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Right? What's going on, everybody? This is J.R. Hensley from the Sports Report. It is a beautiful Thursday out here in Dallas, Texas. We have a few things we're going to go over today. I know we've been touching a lot up on the NFL and college football. We're not going to stop, but we'll get into it a little bit today, and then we're going to move forward and try and get into a few other sports. I've got an intern for us over here, Tyler Luker. He'll be in pretty soon, give us kind of the ins and outs of what's going on in the baseball world, as that's really important as the season's going along. And then also we're going to get on a little bit on the topic of the NBA. But first thing for today, breaking news, we had Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson signed a fat contract extension. According to CBS, extension's worth about $245 million. It's $165 million guaranteed. This is a huge deal for Wilson right here. That's despite suffering a broken finger in Week 5 of the 2021 regular season, he just missed 3 games, and those were the first games he missed in his career. He ended a streak of 149 consecutive games started by an NFL quarterback, which is the 6th all-time. He completed almost 65% of his passing attempts for over 3,000 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions in only 14 games. If he's healthy in the upcoming season, Wilson's expected to eclipse 40,000 career passing yards, and only 22 other quarterbacks have accomplished that. Now, obviously here the expectation is high. Russell Wilson is a great quarterback. I think that this is something that a lot of people might be surprised about, but that's kind of the trend of the quarterbacks, right? Of good quarterbacks right now, franchise quarterbacks. They're getting paid. They really are. The number one quarterback right now, the highest paid quarterback, is Aaron Rodgers. He's sitting at about $50.3 million on average. Now, Russell is right behind him now with the $49 million. And then you've got Kyler Murray over at $46.1 million. Then you go down to Deshaun Watson, $46 million. The thing about Watson's contract, which I don't know who his agent is, but I got to figure it out. But all that money is guaranteed, which is truly incredible. I think it's $230 million is what he signed for, and it's $230 million guaranteed. So that's pretty great. But with Russell Wilson's deal, so it's a 5-year extension, like I said, but $165 million guaranteed. Now, I don't know what you guys think about Russ. You guys comment down below and tell me what you think. But it's going to be really interesting, and also it kind of pushes that argument of, what are we supposed to see here now with the Lamar Jackson thing? Like, is Lamar going to be able to get his $250 million, or are the logic, is the logic behind the Ravens right now that Jackson isn't as good of a quarterback as Watson or as Russell Wilson? Like, I personally believe he's up there to that caliber. I want to see him get paid. But, it's just with these massive deals, you kind of wonder what's going to happen. But also getting down into it, let's see here. I'll go back on this. Russell Wilson's averaging $49 million a year. You've got Kyler Murray below him at 46.1. You got Deshaun below him at 46. You got Pat Mahomes at 45. You got Josh Allen at 43. Derek Carr at 40.5. You got Dak Prescott, $40 million, tied again with Matthew Stafford, $40 million. Kirk Cousins, $35 million. So, a lot of big money right now for the quarterbacks in the game. This is a pretty tough time in competition too in the NFL. I was saying this earlier on a previous show. Being a quarterback in the National Football League right now, the pressure's on. So, let's see here. We've got I want to talk a little bit about a guy by the name of Jacob Bernhardt. I don't know if you've heard the story on this cat. He's over with the Atlanta Falcons right now, but this guy wasn't a football player for his entire career. In fact, he's still relatively new to the game. He won the Tourden Trophy as the nation's best lacrosse player. This guy was number 1. If you look him up on Google, you're not gonna see anything about football, which is pretty nuts. You're gonna see all of his statistics of him just being the best of the best lacrosse player in the nation. And then After he was done with that, he went on to transfer to Ferris State. It's a D2 school, pretty good, to play quarterback. And he led that team to an undefeated season and a national championship. And then he switched to wide receiver in May and made the Atlanta Falcons 53-man roster this year. That's pretty nuts. He rushed for three back in his days over at Ferris State. He rushed for 3 touchdowns in a 58-17 win on a national championship over Valdosta State, and he passed for 1,322 yards and 11 touchdowns, ran for 1,273 yards and 23 touchdowns in 2021. So he played lacrosse at Maryland for 4 seasons, where he ended his career with the Terrapins' all-time record held in career points at 290, goals at 202, single-season points at 99, single-season goals at 71, goals in a single NCAA tournament 18, and a point sin of a single NCAAS tournament 24. Now, like I told you, he won the Tuerton Award, and which is like the equivalent. If you don't know anything about lacrosse, like that's the equivalent of the Heisman Trophy in college football. So, like I said, very big athlete, very, very big accolade. Named as the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year, and was named first team All Big Ten for the 3rd time in 2021. Earned academic through 2018 through 21, and then won a national championship in Maryland as a freshman. So this just brings up like one of the biggest topics that, you hear your buddies always talk about, like if LeBron James was an NFL football player, if he played football, he would go and be the best right now, at several different positions. And like, this is a guy who's doing it. And it's pretty impressive to see. Like, imagine being the best you can be at your craft and then being like, well, I've already gotten to this point. Now I want to go play another sport and see if I can go be the best at that too. So, I love this story. Jacob Bernhardt, I'm going to be following this name around for the rest of the year because everybody likes a success story like this. There's a lot to be said about that. And, moving forward, a guy that goes and is the top premier form of his time in lacrosse, right? Lacrosse players, there's the Premier Lacrosse League, that's the Professional Lacrosse League, and I don't know what their pay salaries are very insignificant when it comes to the NFL, obviously because of viewership and things like that. Not to negate how awesome lacrosse is. I know it's picking up all over the place, and I respect it a lot. But a guy like Jacob seizes an opportunity, goes and plays some football, learns some things, and then ends up on a 53-man roster. He switches a sport, and then he changes his life with the opportunities and the amount of income that he can set right here and set up for him and his family. Like, what a success story. Like I said, super excited. I can't wait to see what happens moving down the pipeline with that guy. We'll keep you up to. I'm going to become a Jacob Bernhardt fan. I guarantee it. We'll see. We do have our intern coming in. We've got Tyler Luker coming in. I'm excited to talk with him a little bit about baseball and see what's going on. I grew up in a baseball background myself. My dad being a supplemental first rounder, my brother being a first round draft pick in 2012. I've been around baseball my whole life, but in the past few seasons, obviously being mixed in with football so much, like I just haven't had a whole lot of time, to go in and watch baseball. Like I really need to get on that, but we'll be on that very, very soon. I want to talk a little bit. Oh, here we go. We got Tyler in here. Let's bring him in.
Hey, what's up?
What's going on, brother? What's going on?
Not much. Baseball's big right now. We're getting into the swing of things.
Awesome, man. I'm going to put this in right here. Give me 2 seconds. So here, can you go to his camera, please? So let me ask you real quick. Talk to me about it. You said a lot of big things happening in baseball, man. I'm not kept up to date. So tell me a little bit. What's going on?
Yeah. So last night, some big things happened. the second game of the Mets-Dodgers series happened, kind of an NLCS preview with the two best teams in the National League facing off. DeGrom, perfect as always, gave up 1 run over 7 innings. And Tyler Anderson went toe-to-toe with him. But the Mets ended up taking it 2-1. And at the end of the 8th inning, they had Timmy Trumpets, who performs Edwin Diaz's walk-in song. They had him perform live at the stadium because everybody loves Diaz's walkout song, the trumpets and everything. And then flipping over to the American League, the Baltimore Orioles called up their number 1 prospect, Gunnar Anderson. And in his second at-bat of the game, he goes up to the plate. He hits a nuke to right center field, flips the helmet off, and he's just jogging around the bases with the hair flowing. The announcers are loving it. So he's an exciting prospect that's just breaking onto the scene.
Nice. Okay, so right now, like, I haven't been kept. Who is the face of baseball right now? Who is just jumping out and being like, okay, because I obviously I love Mike Trout. And I know that since I've been following baseball, like, that was the last that I had been on was the Mike Trout train. So tell me, like, who's the guy that's staying around making a big impact right now, and then who's the up and comers that you're most excited about?
Well, I think there's really 2 guys you can really talk about this season, and it's going to be Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge. So Shohei, I mean, he's like the best baseball talent we've kind of ever seen. I mean, he can pitch and hit at a high level. He's great for the international game. It's just you like to see him in the playoffs. And obviously he's in the same boat as Mike Trout, where he's not really getting that chance on that team. But he's backing up his MVP season with likely a top 3 finish. But the other guy, Aaron Judge, it's no secret he's been the best hitter in baseball this year. I mean, he's got 51 home runs with over 35 games to play, or around 35 games. Baseball traditionalists will say he's chasing Roger Maris. I tend to say Bonds has the record, but 61 for Maris, 73 for Bonds. He's got time to at least beat Maris for the Yankees record. But man, he's unstoppable this season, and he's playing in the biggest market of them all. I think that's who I would consider this year being the biggest, because we lost guys like Tatis for steroids, and then Soto hasn't been as good this year. He's still great. Vlad Guerrero's in the same boat. But I think Aaron Judge and Shohei. As for the up-and-comers, you really like to see Julio Rodriguez and Adley Rutschman, 2 rookies in the American League right now. He's got a 2020 season already, 20 home runs, 20 stolen bases. He's the most electrifying thing to come out of Seattle since Felix Hernandez or even Ichiro Suzuki. And he's just phenomenal to watch. And then going to Adley Rutschman, a switch hitting catcher with plus defense and a plus bat. That's like something dreams are made of. So those guys are up and coming. In a couple years, they're going to be running baseball. Those guys.
I do love me some Aaron Judge, man. I've had a pleasure. Obviously, my brother was drafted by the Yankees, so like I've had a chance to meet a couple of the guys. But a lot of baseball players, I don't know if you know this, they love Clash of Clans, and they were big on Destiny as well when it was hot during the day. So, yeah, that's how I ended up talking to him in the first place. He's one of the coolest dudes ever. Him and Greg Bird are like some of the nicest guys on the planet. But also, absolute beasts out there, like, the best of the best. So,
and he's going to get paid.
Yeah, he is going to get paid. Absolutely. Yeah. This is only, this is just I feel like he still has so much left to give for the game for several years. So I'm super excited about that as well. Andrew Heaney, he's a close family friend of mine. But I'm just pumped at what he's doing over there in LA. Hell of a turnaround, especially coming, I know it was really rough over there for a little while with the Yankees. So, it's exciting to see, a turnaround. How do you feel about his last outing with the Mets?
Well, he didn't go the deepest, but he was striking a lot of guys out. I think
6 innings.
It was either 5 or 6. I mean, great for Heaney. And I think he set a season high for whiffs because the Mets could not hit him. I mean, I think he had like 9 strikeouts
Yeah,
against the top lineup. I mean, that's one thing he's always had. He's always had swing and miss stuff. It's just if he could get the control and the consistency to go deep, and he's unlocked it. If he would just his injury problems are kind of holding him back, but now that
right.
he's back, he's really helping out that Dodgers rotation that's had a lot of health issues this year. And
It,
not many people expected that, either out of him or Tyler Anderson, two guys that were kind of cast aside, and the Dodgers picked him up, and they've been phenomenal this year.
Yeah, I've been seeing him work in the offseason on his spin like the whole time, and I'm just seeing it pay off, man. Like you're saying, people aren't able to hit his stuff. That's something you practice and you work on in the offseason and you get better at. And just seeing like the method to his madness, right? Like of how he goes about things. Like he's very, very technical about everything that he does. I don't know if you know all the machines and things that they have nowadays that control that will show your spin rate on a ball. You can even have a ball programmed so that when you're throwing it and then you go back, you can read it and be like, okay, it spun this amount of times, it went this direction or whatever. And I would just watch him throw bullpens over at his place, and he would just be working on that type of thing. So it's really impressive. Obviously, it's translating on the field. So what as the season progresses, and where are we at right now in the season? Are we've got how many games that like how far deep are we in the season?
We got about 34
in
games left.
34 games
because we're
left.
starting September. So playoff races, award races, they are in full swing and they are exciting this year.
Yeah. So what are your predictions here? What do you got?
Well, so pretty much the two teams that have locked up their divisions completely, I think the Dodgers are up just under 20 games on the San Diego Padres, and the Astros are up, I think, like 11 games on the Mariners. They've locked up those divisions. Now, where it gets interesting is going to the AL Central and the NL East. The AL Central, it's not really that good this year. I mean, we all thought the White Sox would come ahead and take one of the top 2 seeds in all of the American League and really dominate that division, but they haven't. In fact, they're in third place right now. Everybody's tripping over their own feet. And what I'm looking for is I think the Twins are going to pull that out because Cleveland's in the lead right now, but they really are an inconsistent team in the fact that they can really pitch, but they can't really hit outside of Jose Ramirez. So I think the Twins are going to pull that out just because they now have some veteran leadership. Sonny Gray, Carlos Correa, guys who have been to the playoffs, maybe not performed as well. Correa is a great playoff performer, but I think they'll take that division. And at the beginning of the year, I thought the Mets, Phillies, and Braves would all make the playoffs, but I had the Mets and the Phillies going to the wild card while the Braves pulling out the division. I mean, they just won the World Series, and the Mets had previously kind of blew it late in the stretch, but they look good. It's kind of hard to put the Braves above them because the Mets have just been phenomenal all year, but the Braves, they're young, they got gunners. I mean, the 2 top candidates for the NL Rookie of the Year are both on the Braves. So I think I'm going to stick with my Braves pick. I think they're going to pull that out. The NL Central, I think the Cardinals are going to win that. The Brewers, they don't have the hitting talent, and you got to pick the Cardinals. You want Albert to have a good send-off, have Wainwright and Molina have a good send-off. And then the AL East, the Yankees are up like 6 or 7 games right now. So I think they'll hold on and win that division because I don't see them having another really bad stretch like they did this last month and a half. But I think Tampa and Toronto will take up 2 of the wild card spots, and then the third one will go to Seattle. I think Baltimore gets close, but they just miss it, kind of like how Seattle was last year because they're just that young team and they're just fighting with nothing to lose, but I don't think they'll make it. And then the National League wild cards, the Mets, Phillies, and the Brewers. I think the Padres are really going to blow it late in the stretch because they have 9 games against the Dodgers left. So that's going to be a tough
What?
one.
What? Yeah. Why? Well, yeah. Is that strictly off of? Is that strictly off of just who they're playing, or is there collapse within the Padres organization? Like what has you saying that, man?
Well, the thing is, Juan Soto, when he came aboard, him and Josh Bell, they're both kind of underperforming where they once were before. Yeah, they're in a new environment, so that's natural. Tatis, they were about to get him back. He was rehabbing in Frisco, and then he gets suspended for 80 games. And I think the biggest one is Josh Hader. He has been terrible. I think his ERA as a Padre is around 25. In his last outing, he gave up, I think, 6 runs in while only getting 1 out. He has been horrible as a member of the Padres,
Oh,
and
no.
they brought him in as the best reliever in baseball. So they were expecting greatness, not poor pitching. I mean, they just can't seem to win down the stretch. They're great at the beginning of the season. I don't know what's happening, but I don't see them pulling it out.
All right. So who's the redheaded stepchild of MLB right now?
The redheaded stepchild?
Who's the redheaded stepchild? The one that's struggling the most, the one that's hurting the worst.
Like a team?
Yes, the team. Whether it's internal collapse or it's like a ownership issue or whatever. Like I want to get the people who aren't super into baseball figure out the highs and lows here. So.
Well, I think I have to go with the Angels. I mean, I could say the Padres or the White Sox, but the Angels, they spend a lot of money in the offseason. They bring in top level talent, and yet Mike Trout has 3 playoff games under his belt. Shohei Ohtani has 0. I mean, they have the 2 best players in all of baseball, and they still can't make it. Their owner wants to sell the team now. They can't seem to ever get it done. And so I think they're the easy pick just because you have teams that can blow it late in the stretch or underperform, but they are beyond underperforming. I had them making the wild card this year. I thought they would do great. They were phenomenal at the start of the year, and then they had that 14-game losing streak. They fired their manager, and they're still terrible afterward. So I think you have to go with the Angels. It's really sad to see great players in their primes not be able to even sniff the playoffs.
Gotcha. Shoot, I'm seeing here. Is it true we got Pujols for 700 right now?
Yes, he's 6 home runs away. He's a
six home runs
right
away.
now. If he hits 700, he'll join the club with Hank Aaron, Barry Bonds, and Babe Ruth. So that's pretty great company.
What's the most amount of home run? Who holds the most home runs right now?
It's Barry Bonds. I think he's
Barry Bonds.
He's either in the 760s or 770s. Babe Ruth is like the early 700s, and then Hank Aaron.
And they still count that, right? They still count that with Barry, right? Like that's okay, good.
Because technically he never tested positive, and even if he did, I mean, they count A-Rod's total. They count so many of the steroid guys' totals. I mean, so
I don't care what anyone says. I'll still always think that's just kind of a part of baseball, man. But you'll see that. Or, yeah. I mean, I don't want to. I don't condone it or anything like that. But it's so. If you just chastise one person, then you need to take like a deep dive into the whole league itself. Like that stuff's around, man.
Exactly.
But,
everybody was doing.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So any closing notes as far as what you're looking forward to and what you're seeing in the upcoming week or anything like that before we head off here and go in a different direction?
Well, this upcoming week, I mean, these are the times for the awards to be finalized and the playoff races to be finalized. Today is the closing game of the series between the Mets and the Dodgers, and it's Chris Bassett, and then after about a month absence, Clayton Kershaw is making his return. So that's going to be the game of the day, I'm going to say, because 2 best teams in baseball going head to head in New York in the big market. It's going to be exciting. Outside of that,
How do you feel about Clayton Kershaw, by the way?
love Clayton Kershaw. That's my favorite
too.
player
That's your
ever.
favorite player.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I mean, he's
that's
he's
awesome.
unbelievable to watch over the years, and it's kind of sad his injury problems because he was kind of ran into the ground when he was younger. But man, he's the best ever here to me.
Yeah, he's a good dude, man. He's a good dude. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I love it. I love it, man.
Yeah, and he's great off the field too, and a Dallas guy, so you gotta love him.
Right. That's awesome. Where did he go to school over here? Clayton Kershaw went to Highland Park. Right. That's right. That's
with
right.
Matthew Stafford and Sean Paulson.
Right. Just a bunch of dogs.
Yeah.
Any other last closing things for you?
I think that's about it. I mean, baseball's exciting right now. It's the time to tune in. We're getting close to October, postseason baseball. You can kind of smell it in the air. It's really exciting.
I love it, man. Tyler, seriously, man, thank you so much for coming on and talking a little shop with baseball, man. We definitely need to keep getting that in the circuit as we're going along. I know football season's big and booming right now, but we are the sports report and we need to be reporting the sports, So yeah. I really appreciate your time, man. I'm sure we'll be seeing you pretty soon.
All right. We'll see you.
All right, brother. All right, guys, that was our intern, Tyler. Man, I love that guy. He is like an almanac for baseball. I love it. We're going to go to break real quickly. And when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about some Thursday night football, college football games going on this evening. So we'll be back soon.
I have a bunch of slides in order that I'll kind of can.
There's a point in time where tensions were high between the United States and North Korea. I have a buddy of mine who's my roommate who busts open the door and he gets on top of my bed, right at the edge of the bed, and he's holding over the phone and he's like, JR, look. and I'm still kind of trying to wake up, and then my eyes just like autofocus on this text message right here. I open the fridge, I have a duffel bag. I just reach my arm in there and swipe everything from the first 3 rows of the fridge, Ziploc the bag, and I'm out the door. I had a class, like a health class, that was in one of the only ballistic missile, in one of the only fallout shelters that the campus had available. We get there. I have my duffel bag on. Everyone's got their backpacks. We run up there, and we've got families putting kids inside of storm drains to try and protect them because they have no other place to put them. They're scared. Then I turn to my right, and I have a perfect shot between me and residential housing right between campus center. And I just see a sea of students, knees to chest, booking it with everything you could think of, TVs, pets, all their belongings that they deemed reasonable to bring. They're sprinting straight to me. And eventually we get a professor who's frantic with the keys. She's shaking, and she finally puts it in and lets everyone in. It's just hundreds of students just start flooding into this auditorium. And then eventually we get the notification that they deemed it a false alert, a mistake on somebody's part. About 5-6 days later, the University of Hawaii had a 4-star general, commander of the Pacific Fleet, a guy who's really well decorated, come in, one of the most powerful person I've ever had a chance to meet, come in and talk to us. And he was like, listen, guys, number one thing here is don't worry. You need to understand that we have all the things that we need right here to defend something. If we are under attack, trust in your government. We are going to take care of you. We're going to do everything we can to protect this place and protect this island. And right now you're in safe hands. But if a situation like this ever happens and there's a ballistic missile inbound and for some reason we aren't able to shoot it down, I don't want you all to panic. I don't want you all to worry. I want you to call your loved ones, or I want you to grab your loved ones, and I want you to pray, because if a ballistic missile hits this island, you're all dead. All right, guys.
Whoa.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thank
That's
you so
big.
much. Right? What's going on, everybody? We are back. Okay, we're starting to wind down and we just got to finish up with baseball, so we're going to move over to the NBA. And then we'll talk a little bit later about these college football Thursday games. But starting off with, we've got our producer Isaac in the building. What's going on?
Oh,
Yeah, so Isaac's been with us. He's been with the sports report a little bit longer than I have, but he loves the NBA. He loves basketball. And so I wanted to bring him on here and kind of talk with him a little bit, man. What's going on? I know it's off season right now in the NBA, but what's happening? What's relevant?
so there's been a lot of moves. There's been a lot of articles that have come up just with the off season, people getting extended, players getting traded. Then obviously there's this whole Kevin Durant saga that's going on. And with the Kevin Durant drama, every team feels that they are in contention to land Kevin Durant. So no free agents are being signed, because it's like, well, if we're a third team that is going to get contract filler players, they might be better than the free agents that are out there. So it's pretty much at a halt. But ESPN did release a article that was super interesting, talking about the winners and losers of the offseason, basically scouts, general managers and stuff. Open that up, and I think we have that here.
Yeah, we'll pull that up.
Graphic. Here. And it's a pretty interesting one. So as you can see here on the left-hand column, it's the winners of the offseason. The right-hand's the losers. And the top team, Celtics, they made some great moves trading for Malcolm Brogdon. I thought that was a very smart move by them. What hurt them in the finals was lack of guard play. Okay. They had Marcus Smart as their point guard. He's a great defender, but the offense can lack at times. So they went and got a guy in Malcolm Brogdon who was 50-40-90 club a few years ago when he was on the Bucks. He can kind of play that one guard, two guard spot and bring a lot of help to a Celtics team that made a finals last year. They kept their young core together. And then there's some other teams on there. The 76ers, they renegotiated some contracts. But the big one big one I have on the winner column, to me, that I found interesting was the New York Knicks. So what have the Knicks done? The Knicks went out and signed Jalen Brunson from the Mavericks, who had a great offseason. I mean, a great playoff run. He looked good, but I don't see a Jalen Brunson signing as a win of the offseason when you look at teams like the Celtics, who made the finals, bringing in a former All-Star, 50, 40, 90 guy. Brunson is solid. I'm excited to see what he does in New York. Happy that he got paid. Wish he could have stayed in Dallas, but he didn't. And they really it says the Mavs were the biggest losers of the offseason. They lost Brunson, and then they basically traded a bag of potato chips to get Christian Wood. And Christian Wood, yes, he has been on all very bad teams that just haven't performed well, but this is his first chance to be on a playoff team and show what he can do as the number 2, maybe the number 3 scoring option.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I feel like too with the NBA, and correct me if I'm wrong here, there's a lot of young talent right now. A lot of guys that are, still kind of molding in. Obviously with the new draft class and everything going on, like I'm not exactly sure what the makeup of the NBA is going to be in the next couple of years. Like I'm an Oklahoma City Thunder fan, or I was for a long period of time, and I couldn't name 5 starters. I couldn't name 5 guys right now currently on the Oklahoma City Thunder's roster. And I know it's probably my fault, but at the same time, there's just been so many moving parts that I'm like, I can't even keep track of. Like, I know the Giddy kid's there, but like, who else do we got? Like, right. I don't know, man. I don't know. And then, Jalen Williams. I guess we got 2 of them.
There's 2 of them.
Yeah, we got 2 of them.
Two rookies. One's a power forward center out of Arkansas, really gritty guy. Thunder fans are going to like him a lot. I'm a big college basketball guy. Jalen Williams at Arkansas was very in touch with how to draw charges, how to go get rebounds, get nasty. I think that's what you want on a young team, is a guy who's willing to do that at a young age. And then the other Jalen Williams was a Santa Clara guard who, good shooter, good playmaker, lacks a little bit of defense. He'll pick that up. That's a young Thunder team. They lost the number 2 target, and it's just one of those things. They're going to be in a rebuild. They have a bunch of draft picks coming up. They'll be good in a few years. They lost Chet Holmgren, their number 2 pick this year, to an injury in a pro-am game, which you never want to see someone go down a pro-am game, let alone a rookie. Tough break for the Thunder, but they should be able to manage this year, get another lottery pick, and then you're pairing Jalen Williams with Chet Holmgren, with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, with Josh Giddey in the following year. And I think it's not the worst thing that could have happened to the Thunder, losing Chet. This year it's not going to be fun, but I think in the long term it could be similar to a Philadelphia 76ers turnaround.
Okay, so have you been to a game in the Chesapeake Arena, the OKC Thunder game?
I have not. No, I've always.
I'm gonna have to take you.
Yeah,
I'm definitely gonna have to take you. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Fans are very involved.
Yeah, they've got, what's really cool is they have this like little pub underneath the stadium. Like if you get pretty decent seats, you get access to go underneath the stadium, and it has just like basically like what like O'Connell's would look like, you'd imagine in there. Like it's like all wood, and so it's really neat. And I love what the Thunder brings to our community in Oklahoma City. That's a place that's just booming. Let's see. Johnny Boy just said the Thunder just lost the number 2 pick. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, we
did. Touched on that. I really do think Chet will come in and be an impact player. I really strongly believe in that. It's just right now clearly wasn't the time for him, but he's going to come in. He's going to fill out a little more. When you think about it, he's going to be rehabbing and getting NBA fit, NBA ready with NBA trainers for a whole season before he touches the floor. It's a lot less pressure, I feel, because he has the ability to train now for a whole year.
Right. That makes a huge difference.
Right. He's not coming in as second overall pick rookie. What's he going to do? By then, there will be a new draft class that's going to get that pressure. So I think for him, who's gotten a lot of criticism, it can pan out very, very helpful for him.
So when we talked about R.J. Barrett a little bit, right? And we talked about Patrick Beverley.
So the R.J. Barrett of the New York Knicks just got extended recently, and that's a big development too in regards to the Knicks being in consideration for Donovan Mitchell of the Utah Jazz. The Utah Jazz have they traded away Rudy Gobert. They got 5 first-round picks in return. An insane package for a guy that gets played off the floor in the playoffs. He plays. He's a liability. You can't trust him. He's a rim protector. That defense doesn't work in the playoffs. So they were in talks to the Jazz to get RJ Barrett in return for Donovan Mitchell. Now with Barrett getting this contract extension, it pushes the Knicks over the cap. If they were to make the trade, so now they have to find a third team. It just made it a lot more complicated. So it shows that the Knicks are really buying in to RJ Barrett being a guy that they see there. Not saying that he's untouchable by any means, but they do see him there for the future. They do see a Jalen Brunson, RJ Barrett backcourt 2 and 3 spot.
Nice. Now they have then there was some other news. Was it Patrick Beverley?
Patrick Beverley, he was a part of the Rudy Gobert trade from the Jazz to the Rudy Gobert to the Timberwolves from the Jazz. And Walker Kessler was a rookie this year, great rim protector. I think he can fill that Gobert spot, not to that high of a level. But Patrick Beverley, when he got traded to the Jazz, it's in a rebuild. He wants out of that rebuild. He is a 34, 35-year-old shooting point guard he's a defensive guy. He's going to make a difference on a championship-level team. So he asked for a trade, and he finds himself in Los Angeles playing alongside LeBron and Anthony Davis. And the funny thing is there's been a huge feud between Russell Westbrook and Patrick Beverley. Now they're teammates. Westbrook said Beverley is just a traffic cone. All he does is get in the way. He doesn't play actual defense. Then Beverley has said Westbrook's not the best player. They just have very much shown they do not like each other. Now they're going to share a backcourt. A lot of rumors around the league from NBA executives and GMs and reports that I've read are this is bringing in Patrick Beverley to take over Russell Westbrook's spot, push Russell Westbrook out, and get in return a Miles Turner and a Buddy Hield package from Indiana. So they get rid of a big contract. Indiana gets to bring in an expiring contract, have a lot of free agency wiggle room. But it's a win now. It would be a win now move by the Lakers, which they're always in win now. And I think it's not out of the realm of possibility when you bring in a guy like Patrick Beverley who can bring, honestly, a lot of the same level of production Westbrook brought last year, just in different ways.
Yeah, no, I love it. Yeah, it's always interesting when you have a Russell Westbrook on your team. You never know what you're going to get. I'll tell you what, some triple doubles for sure. I'll give you that much. And then let's talk LeBron. Yeah, he said he could stay in the league long enough to where he would play with his youngest son, Bryce.
Yes. So LeBron has not shied away at all from the topic of wanting to play in the NBA with Bronny for the longest time. But now Bryce has emerged as a really, really talented basketball player. And in that picture, there's the 3 of them there. They all work out together. And LeBron has been open, saying, like, look, I've been keeping an eye on what's going on. I'm aware of who has the picks. He's negotiating his contracts accordingly. He just signed an extension kind of recently where he can get out of this contract that he's currently in with the Lakers to go to a team that might draft Bronny and then eventually go to a team that might draft Bryce. And it's a real legacy move. And, you're a former college athlete on the circuit right now. How would you feel in a similar situation if you were Bronny or Bryce?
Playing with my father?
Who was one of the best to ever do it. Like, what?
I would hate it. I would hate it significantly. What do you mean? I don't want to play with my dad. Like, when I tell you my father was was one of the biggest hard asses when it came to sports. Like, he would have me out there on a bucket catching balls from my brother with no padding, no catcher's gear, nothing, in the freezing cold. And I'm crying because I'm getting peppered in the leg by 85, 90 mile an hour fastballs mid-thigh. Like, I'm telling you, if I was sitting there thinking, I'm going to play baseball with my father, I'd plunk him. I love my dad more than anything in the world. In fact, he was just calling me, didn't know we were live. But, man, the pressure's on when your family's in the picture when it comes to, athletics. Like, my dad wasn't a football guy, so I can't really imagine him in the pads. But, like, I just remember when I was a kid, I was so afraid to fail in front of my dad or whatever. I would love to play with my brother. Like, if I got an opportunity to play the same sport as my brother and, we did something like that, would be pretty cool. But my father, man, I would rather him be sitting in the stands watching me play because, his time is done and mine is not. So, yeah, I don't know. That's a crazy situation.
It's a weird dynamic.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's like a gimmick thing at that point. Like, I don't know how good LeBron will be at that point in time in his career. I'm not saying he won't be still amazing. I'm just, I'm not all hopped on LeBron either. Like, I think LeBron's right now, he's still the best. He's amazing. Like, I love LeBron production wise, but I've never just been like, oh man, like LeBron. Like, I'm a huge Michael Jordan fan and a Kobe Bryant fan as well. So yeah, that's a crazy situation, bro. I would not like that at all. I would steer away from that as much as I possibly could.
Well, and it's you touched on it, the pressure. LeBron is arguably the best or second best player to ever play the game. And his two sons are trying to make a name for themselves, make a legacy. So I don't know if LeBron's playing a big brain game where it's like, look, their draft stock might not totally be there. But with me there in the picture being like, hey, I'm going to come play with them where they are, I get them drafted higher.
That's a great point.
It might secure them the difference between making a 2-year, $4 million deal to a 4-year, $35 million deal.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I don't know exactly. We've got some time until then, obviously, for them to make their draft stock rise. But sweetening the pot with your father playing with you, like, I'll just go where they go. Like, that's incredible. That's a whole perspective I didn't even really think about.
And
it's a real possibility.
If you're a smaller market team that struggles to get fans in the stands, what is a better way than to be the team? Let's say, I don't know, Sacramento. You're a Sacramento team, struggles a little bit with fan issues. You get LeBron in a Kings jersey playing with his son. This has never happened before. Right. You talk about selling tickets. People want to see this greatness that's never happened. A 46, 47-year-old LeBron even playing with Bryce. The three of them. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's something that's truly interesting.
You couldn't write it up better. It's pretty. That's why I know we were supposed to be talking with Randall. I know he's got some stuff going on. He's going to try and go live with us here in a little while. Tyler, seriously, thanks again. I mean, Isaac, thanks again for joining us, man. Like, I really appreciate it with the NBA, man. I definitely would love some coverage help on that. I feel like you're a very knowledgeable guy. So,
keep up.
Yeah, you definitely keep up. Any closing thoughts as far as what you're seeing or what you're excited for in the upcoming season? Or
so. The upcoming NBA season, I think, is going to be a very interesting one. I'm an Iowa fan through and through, and I'm excited. I mentioned the Kings a second ago. I'm excited to see Keegan Murray. I think he's a dark horse for the Kings for Rookie of the Year conversation. I also think I'm excited to see a team like the Mavs coming off a Western Conference final, bringing in Christian Wood, who's a guy that can get it done. He's shown that he can score. Defense is a little questionable, but the Mavs defense – before Jason Kidd got there, ranked near the bottom. They bring Kidd in. They have one of the best defenses. They make it to a Western Conference Finals. I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see the Clippers in the West. I think they're the favorite to come out at full strength. Paul George back, Kawhi Leonard back, bring in John Wall. I think they're an exciting team. But I think it's going to be an interesting dynamic of a season, but a very good season nonetheless. So I'm very excited for the NBA.
Let's actually so we'll move on from the NBA. I want to talk a little bit about college basketball.
Yeah.
So if you've I love college basketball. March Madness is like the greatest sporting thing ever. I am so big on, bracket busts and things like that. I love betting on March Madness. That's one of the only sports bets that I'll do. I'm a huge Kansas fan. I'm from Lawrence, Kansas. I lived there for several years of my life. Bill Self and his family are wonderful people. I love what they got going on over there. He's always they always try to make something up about Bill Self to keep him, because he's doing so many amazing things, right? And they just got another natty, so I was super pumped on that. But I remember living in Lawrence when Mario Chalmers and Sasha Khan went over there and won the whole thing. They played Memphis, I believe. Memphis, yeah. And I'm going to tell you right now, it was the craziest environment I've ever been in, especially late night. My dad, my mom were telling me hey, it's going to be wild out there. We don't want you out there. Be safe. My dad was like, honey, they got to see it. They got to see it. We got to go over there.
It's greatness.
And we went over there. We were one of the first people over there. We were like, oh, wow, this is kind of lame. But they had packed out Allen Fieldhouse to watch the game. The game wasn't even being played there. It was played on the Jumbotron, but they packed that place out. And the second they won, they just sprinted straight down through campus, straight through straight through campus corner, all that stuff. It was insane, man. There were people climbing on top of light poles and they were on the news, and it was the first time I'd ever seen somebody flash a camera, and I was like, oh, what's happening,
Yeah, right.
But that's college basketball, man. It's madness. It's crazy. What are you seeing right now in the college basketball world?
College is my main focus. I keep up to date with the NBA, but college is, like you said, the single greatest sporting event, March Madness, to ever occur, in my opinion. I really do see a lot. This is going to be, like the NBA, a very interesting season. So you have Kansas coming off of national championship, losing some guys, but also bringing back some key guys like Jalen Wilson. I think that's a big recruit to bring back for them. And then you have teams like Duke, another blue blood, who lost Coach K after first time since the 90s. And they're bringing in John Shire, who's going to be a good coach. They brought in a lot of length on the perimeter. So I think John Shire is really going to focus on getting the Duke defense back up to speed, back up to track. I think that Duke team is going to be good. There's also just a lot of names with NIL, and I know you'll touch on that later, but NIL has played a factor into where these players are going, a lot of transfers moving all around.
Yeah. No, and that's something we're going to touch on here in a little while about, NIL within the college world, especially with football. But this is a perfect opportunity to talk about NIL and its effect on, which I think is very important, college basketball players. So a lot of times, right, the rule of thumb is you go and you play 1 year, you ball out, you opt into the draft, right? Well, here comes the NIL, offers you a boatload of money and says, here you go, you're already making $1 million. Why would you want to leave? And I think that that's a positive too, with encouraging athletes who have the opportunity, because you can't do that in football. You can't do that in other sports. It's really just the only thing you can do is hockey and baseball. You can leave right after high school, but with basketball, you have to wait 1 year and then you're gone. With football, you have to stay your time there for and it's different. You can't just automatically leave. But so basketball, you leave after one season because you're trying to go get that paycheck, right? Well, the paycheck's already coming your way with these NIL deals, and ain't nobody love you like your college loves you.
Right.
This is the playing for your college team is so much more than when the money and the flash gets in the way, it's no longer, it's a business, it's just business. And the NIL, it adds a business aspect to it, but it's still college sports. So I think it's an incentive to keep kids to still play for their universities and not go to the draft so quickly or be pressured to go and get drafted as quick, because they can just stay and keep making money while they're in school.
And a perfect example of that is Oscar Tshiebwe. He was the National Player of the Year last year for Kentucky. Could have gone to the draft. He's a little undersized for a center, standing around 6'9", phenomenal rebounder. Could have gone to the draft, been a second-round draft pick, gotten $1 million on a guaranteed contract. He returned to college for his senior year after being the National Player of the Year. And a big reason for that is, like you said, that money. Why would you leave when you can make that money? He's making more than what his second-round contract would be now. And he's a international player playing in college. That's a life-changing amount of money for anyone, let alone a person who's grew up in another country as a kid and then comes to Kentucky, becomes this stud. Well, went to West Virginia, then Kentucky, now National Player of the Year, making millions. And you also see it with guys that are studs at schools like Northwestern. Pete Nance comes to mind. Pete Nance was a guy who did it all for Northwestern, a team that was really, really bad. Well, guess what? Now he can transfer, go make money. He's not going to get drafted. He's a fifth-year guy now. He's probably going to be an undrafted free agent just because that's NBA looks for youth and potential. He's kind of proven what he can do. He's older. He goes to UNC now with the chance to win a title as they're the favorite overall and make a few $100,000 off NIL deals. That's a great career path if I've
student. Exactly. And we'll touch on more NIL topics coming up after we have a little break here in just a little bit. But player retention, as far as in college, tell me about that, the deal with transfers. Tell me about what do you think right now with the
right. So the landscape is changing. We're seeing more player retention, and with that, we're going to see more teams repeat making runs in March. And there was a statistic out there, out of the last 40 starters in the Final Four games, 8 teams, the last 2 years, 33 returned the following year. It made the Final Four that year. They were on the program. It's not the one and dones anymore. It's the savvy vets that know the game, know the footwork to do, know how to win, that are doing greatness, making Final Four runs. So I think we're going to see player retention go up with NIL deals as well as team success. Coaches are going to be way more aggressive, I think, in pushing like, hey, you could go get drafted. I know you're working with your agent. But if you come back, you can make $500,000 and get a ring. I think that's going to play a huge factor in player retention. We're going to see draft classes get older in the NBA because players are staying.
Yeah. And that's exciting for college sports, man. That's exciting for college basketball. If you can get great players that everyone loves, and you're like, can you imagine if, I don't know, a guy like Wiggins stayed for, an extended another year,
And where it did hurt in the past for college, you had 2 years, your freshman and sophomore year, to make a name for yourself. And if you're a top recruit, you go somewhere, you play your freshman year and it doesn't go well, so you go back for your second, you're already docked half around. Because they're like, oh, he couldn't get it done his freshman year. Even if you do decent your sophomore year, you're docked. And if you come back for a third year, it's hard to go in the first round. It's hard to get that guaranteed money. But if draft classes are getting older, it's older guys, we're going to see those older guys that just take a little bit longer to develop get that chance to go play in the NBA. And I think that's a great thing.
I see it. Well, hey, Isaac, seriously, thank you, man. I appreciate you coming on and talking a little shop on basketball, man. I much appreciated. We'll be back. We'll be locked in with you here pretty soon. We'll get you back on and kind of talk about, the breaking news and things like that. But yeah, man, we'll be back here pretty soon. We're going to take another break. And when we come back, we'll be talking about Thursday night football, a little bit of NIL deals, and then, just NIL in general. And then, yeah, we'll go from there. So we'll see you soon.
Thanks for having me.
What's going on, guys? We are back at the Sports Report. This is J.R. Hensley. We're going to try and get our co-host Randall in here at some point in time. But we're just going to keep it rolling up until then. So week 1 college football, it's starting tonight. We've got some Thursday games going on. There's some stuff to talk about. So we've got Wake Forest, who just came off a fantastic season. Their preseason, they're ranked number 22, but they were 11-3 last year. And for a period of time, we were really, considering them for playoff contention. They were close. So we've got Wake Forest, and they're going to be playing a tune-up game against Virginia Military Institute. Now, the Cadets had a 6-5 record last season. They're an FCS team. So, but they played one FBS team in 2021, and it really wasn't pretty because they played Kent State, and they were roughed up the score was 60-10 last year, and the line for this game is we've got Wake Forest by 32.5 points. So it's supposed to be a very, very high-scoring game, I think, at least anticipating for Wake Forest. So obviously this is what we would call a tune-up game for sure. We're expecting a blowout, but you never know. College football is weird, but I would absolutely take this. This Wake Forest just looks like a dominant team. They were last year. I'm sure that they're going to be this year. And then we've got number 17 Pitt versus West Virginia. Now, this is a really cool – this is the backyard brawl, and I don't know if you guys know much about the history of this game, but it's usually played the Friday after Thanksgiving. Now, the teams first met in 1895, but largely because of conference realignment, and the game had been on hold since about 2011. It returns tonight at 7 o'clock Eastern time, and – the intensity that's been built up over 104 meetings, Pitt leads this by 64-30, 61-40 with 3 ties. Now it can't be erased by an 11-year pause, but we've got Pitt that's supposed to win this game by 7.5. Rodney Hammond Jr. has appeared in 12 games, and he's rushed for 504 yards, 5 touchdowns on 102 carries. It's 4.9 on an average. He caught 8 passes for 57 yards, 7.1 average, and had 2 touchdowns. In the Panthers' 27-17 victory over Clemson in October, this past October, we had Hammond come off the bench in the fourth quarter and carried 11 times for 66 yards. We also have, they also have a really good receiving core. They have senior wide receiver Jared Wayne. In 29 career games with 11 starts, Wayne had 86 receptions for over 1,200 yards, a 14.5 average, 8 touchdowns. In 2011, my apologies. In 2021, Wayne's the second team leading receiver for 47 catches, 658 yards, 6 touchdowns. He has 2 career 100-yard receiving games. The thing is, too, West Virginia, they have a history of winning. They're the 15th most winning program in college football. So this will still be an interesting matchup. You obviously are going to want to favor Pitt here, but West Virginia is not a bad team. They're not a bad team at all. They've got the Big 12, and I'm just excited to see what happens here with this one. Now, then we also have a junior. JT Daniels is a transfer from Georgia, and he will be the starting quarterback for West Virginia. I don't know if you remember Daniels, but he had a 7-0 record as a starting quarterback for Georgia, and he was the second leading passer for last season, completing 68 out of 94 attempts for 722 yards, 7 touchdowns. He completed 22 out of the 30 passes for 135 yards in a season-opening win against Clemson, number 3 at the time. Obviously didn't pan out for them as they were going through the rest of the year, but missed time due to injury. He ultimately lost his starting job. He's a very good quarterback. He has a chance to do something special here. Obviously, injuries kept him out. So I'm excited to see what happens tonight and the production that he has. So, anytime that you have a rivalry game, you never know what happens. That's why I absolutely love games like Bedlam, with OU and Oklahoma State, because it really doesn't matter who's ranked or who's truly the better team. A lot of times you just end up having great competition, and it's a highly anticipated game. The atmosphere is absolutely nuts. So, super exciting to see that one. My favorite game that we've got going on tonight is Oklahoma State versus Central Michigan. Oklahoma State preseason ranked number 12, and they are a 21.5-point favorite against Central Michigan. The Oklahoma State Cowboys will face off at 7 p.m. Eastern time tonight at Boone Pickens, start off the 22 season. The Cowboys ended up 12-2 last season and capped things off the win over Notre Dame in the Fiesta Bowl. So they're on the hunt for another strong season. But likewise, after a 9-4 record last year and a win in the Sun Bowl, Central Michigan coming off another great season. So the two last season defensive stats to keep in the back of your head while watching: Oklahoma State was the second best in the nation in sacks, finishing the 21 season with 55. The Chippewas were not quite as good, but they were no chumps either. They ranked 9th in the nation with sacks, closing the year with 41 overall. With that kind of ball pressure, don't be surprised if there's a lot of short passes. Oklahoma State obviously has the odds in their favor, but they can't get complacent here, because I don't know if you know that this is not the first time that they have had a matchup. We have back in 2016, I don't know if you remember, there was a game-winning Hail Mary, and there is over a lot of controversy here, because it really shouldn't have. I want to show this clip. Yeah, let's show this right here. Mind you, last play of the game. No time left on the clock. Oh, man. Oh, man. Here we go. Mike Gundy and co. Bless their hearts. So this is exactly what we don't want to see, but this is what college football is all about. Obviously, Oklahoma State's trying to get their licks back after this last meeting, but I know Mike Gundy in the back of his head is still thinking about this game and what that was like. In fact, if I was him, I would be showing the team that clip right there before I would even go out and touch the field and be like, look, we can't we can't look past these guys. It's 1-0 each week, and anything can happen in college football. If you show up, it's who shows up and they're just ready to play, So, college football is back. We are so excited over here at the Sports Report to get these watched. We'll be sitting here locked in from the second that we get done with this show today, and we'll just be prepping, obviously, for tomorrow's show, but we'll have plenty to talk about because we'll be watching these games and making some notes here. I'm excited to see what Oklahoma State does. They've been a little brother to OU in the past, but with last year, OU had just the highest ceiling, it looked like, and then here comes Oklahoma State. They end up taking OU off the board. They go in and play. They take them out of the Big 12 contention, so then they go and play Baylor, and all of a sudden, everybody in Oklahoma is rooting for Oklahoma State, and they're like, man, we just want to see. They go and beat Baylor. They have a chance to get into the national championship last year, which has been huge for the program. So high expectations for Mike Gundy. We want to see some wins here. This upcoming game, for me personally, I think Oklahoma State's going to blow them out. But preseason rankings mean nothing. We got to see what happens on the field. Very, very excited. Now, Randall has yet to, I don't know if he will end up hopping on or, what he's got going on at the moment, but we also, let's see here. We also have, I want to talk a little bit about the NIL, okay? The name, image, and likeness. This is something that I've wanted to touch on for a little bit now, but there's a lot of opinions circulating about the positive and negatives that we have for college football, this being college football or just college sports in general. Is the NIL good for the game, or will it be part of the NCAA downfall? Now, for years, the NCAA has benefited off of players' images and likeness, and they are a multi-million-dollar industry. This is, with the NIL, you're allowing players to make money off of who they are. And, in the past, when I was in college, if I was to even get a discount for going out to eat or, signing an autograph or something like that and making money, I'm getting an NCAA infraction and I could be suspended indefinitely for doing something like that. And obviously, throughout the years, there's always been certain players, right? You'll see at certain schools, guys will pull up in their new Hummers or their new Chargers, and no one says anything about it because they're the top dog school, they're the big school. But that's always been relevant in college sports. But now it's become legal. Like it's the right, this is you're able to do that. And a school like Jacksonville State, an HBCU, and has private funding, right? We see cats going over there that are a five. We got a 5-star going over there now of a defensive player. We've got 4-star players over there that are building they're building something special at a smaller school, but they're able to do that because of NIL deals and bring in guys and be like, hey, look, we're going to pay you to come over here and help reprise this program. And I think that that's really, really great for the people who have it like that. But there's also a negative aspect too. You look at what about the other schools that are, they don't really have all that booster backing. They don't really have, these sponsorship deals that make it easy for guys to be like, oh yeah, I want to go and commit and play to that school. But a school like SMU, who is smaller on the scale, especially after, that SMU used to be, I don't know if people know this, but SMU used to be a huge powerhouse back in the day, especially for football. But with their situation that happened with the death penalty, it basically halted that program indefinitely. It was so bad, in fact, that the NCAA promised and swore that they would never have the death penalty again because of the long-lasting repercussions that it had on the program. Oh, what's going on? We got Randall up in here. How are you?
Guys, as promised, I'm here, but I had a few microphone issues. I guess they were charged.
Put the screen on Randall for me real quick.
Can you hear me?
I'm gonna just get my headset adjusted right here. Where are we at? What's going on, Randall? How are you?
I'm good. Hey, I told you guys I was coming on live. First of all, in Dallas, Texas, we cannot bet sports legally. Our closest option is coming to Shreveport, Louisiana. I'm here today to showcase the brand new sports book at the Horseshoe Casino in Bossier City, which is a Caesar Sportsbook property. So I've been to the old one before, which was downstairs in their poker room. Guys, look at the spectacle going on in here. Look at this place. Right?
Wow,
There's
that thing is massive.
There's the front. If you're familiar with this casino, as you walk in, before you hit the $1 million wall, the wall that's all cash, you take a right and you come in this way, right? Walking in. You see these ladies, they're telling me this is the very first day that the new version of this sports book has been open. And a matter of fact, we need to share it. I'll send you guys. I think I sent it to you earlier. The first sports book ticket in this new spot was a $200,000 bet for the Boilermakers to cover. Pretty intriguing. What's going on here?
That's insane. That's amazing. How long you just get over there, or are you just checking it out right now?
We literally just walked in. I know I was trying to meet the 12 o'clock deadline of you guys going off, and I'm going to place some bets, and we'll share that tomorrow. But we need to carve this up later, guys. Welcome to the new Caesar Sportsbook. First day today opened in Bossier City, Louisiana, which is inside the Horseshoe Shreveport Casino, right? So it's Caesar Sportsbook. We prefer Caesars.
Are you gonna be betting on any Thursday night football games tonight?
Yeah, I am. I'm putting bets out today, right? So we've actually hosted a podcast here from this casino several times. I'm pretty dialed in with the sports book, but this is the first day the sports book's open. You're actually alive.
Oh wow. Of course, Randall will be lined up first to get up over there. Of course, he had to be first. I love that.
Well, I'm not first, but I am in here. I didn't know that they had the timing's impeccable that they're open today on to me what I consider the first big day of college football. We don't count Nebraska shitting the bed last week as the first day of college football, right? So I'm interested in the game tonight. I'll make my picks. I feel like she's about to tell me I'm a guaranteed winner no matter what. I don't know. She's about to tell me no recordings in here. That's why I went and cleared it with the sportsbook guy first. All right. I did. I already cleared it. I already cleared it with the sportsbook director. I literally just talked to him.
What's his name?
What you tell me what sportsbook director's name is?
What's his name?
You tell me. There's about 10.
What's his name?
Guys, I'm gonna
Looks like
click
what
off here,
happens.
but hey, we are doing the Lord's work here, promoting Caesars with no marketing funds. But I'm gonna humor her and get off and go get the guy, and I'm gonna get back on and have her issue a public apology to me online live. How's that?
And I will.
Sounds fantastic, man. You stay.
But I won't if he did.
Bye.
All right.